If you like looping or loop artists, or you're a loop artist yourself, or you're thinking about getting into looping, then welcome to my channel. My name is JP, and this is How Do You Loop? In these series of interviews, I dive into the minds of different loop artists from different genres around the world. We ask them, why do you loop? What do you use to loop? More importantly, how do you use that equipment? Ladies and gentlemen, it's Soph Matt from The Distance! Yay!
Hi John, how you doing?
I'm very well, how are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having us on.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for taking time out of your massively busy schedule to be here this evening. So, for those who are not aware, introduce yourselves. I know I've just said Soph and Matt, but introduce yourselves, describe what you do and where you do it.
We're Soph and Matt, also known as The Distance.
Soph and Matt.
I'm Soph, this is Matt. And we are a live looping and sometimes acoustic duo.
Later, hear me tonight, 'cause my feeling is just so right. Oh, gravity, she's from a cosmic world. Oh, we are family. I got all my sisters with me. Take it, if she gives you her heart, don't you break it.
We've tried going somewhere in between, but we can't, so it has to be either completely acoustic with just two guitars or just ridiculous amounts of looping gear. And we do it basically anywhere that'll have us. All over the country.
Yep.
Yeah. Wherever can keep the lights going.
So clarifying wise,
much
all over the country, you're in the UK, aren't you?
Yes,
Yes,
indeed,
we
yes.
are,
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well,
Not too far from you.
Not too far from me.
Yeah, we could have
So-
just opened the window and shouted.
Pretty
Yeah,
much.
yeah, no, not too bad. Just one of those strings with the cone. To do that.
Totally showing your age there.
Absolutely. Thanks, mate. Cheers. So, I first noticed you with your video, actually a video popped up as one of those suggested videos, and it was one of yours.
okay.
I got a suggested
Yay.
video, which was You Can Call Me Al, a loop video.
wow.
Yeah,
Still our
and do you know
favourite.
what? I was blown away by, first of all, the setup, but also just the great detail of arrangement.
Oh,
Now-
thank
Lovely.
you.
I started watching more, and I couldn't believe that a loop duo could do one of my favourite songs, which is Basement Jaxx Red Alert.
That's probably the most difficult one we've come across.
Yeah, it's certainly probably one of the most complex
Yeah.
and the most like having to think on your feet and be ready for various things. And ironically, probably our least viewed video that we've ever uploaded.
I'm going to be increasing the view count on that video, don't worry.
Hey, nice, thank you. It took us about a week to come up with the arrangement for that, actually, trying to find all the samples and everything to sound as authentic as Basement Jaxx, because it's such an in-depth song. It was a difficult one
Strange,
to take
isn't
on,
it?
and when we took it on, we were like, we have to do this properly.
Yeah, first glance, it feels like a fairly, not generic, but being a sort of dance tune, you assume, okay, it's a looped,
Typical four chord.
2 bars or 4 bars of drum, and then other things come and go. But actually, there's such a lot of detail in Basement Jax's work that they really go to town on stuff. So yeah, we just spent ages analysing the track and figuring out. The thing for us is how, because we're performing in front of a sort of a paying audience, if you like, or at least one of them has paid us to be there. It's basically a toss-up between how quickly can we build this thing versus how much detail can we provide. How many times round can we go before people start getting bored and shuffling off? We've landed on a roughly 60 seconds-ish.
Yeah, which
is
we have the
really
luxury
good.
of having that down because there's two of us.
Yeah.
Ideally, really, it would be 2 minutes.
Exactly,
It
yeah.
would be one of those 2-minute loop covers that
Yeah,
people
so-
lose interest
Totally,
in because
yeah.
it takes so long to build.
And because we're using two loopers that are linked via MIDI, we can both be recording things simultaneously.
Funnily enough, that was one of my next questions, because what's really interesting to me and what interests me with you guys is you have a 2-loop pedal setup. And then I just started watching all your performances. You've even got a playlist which is your loop performances.
Yes, yeah.
I binge watched it and I went
wow.
through all of them. So what got you guys into looping? Like, where did it all start?
We were aware of Katie Tunstall back in 2009. So it was like one of my heroes, basically. She's absolutely amazing. And then obviously Ed Sheeran started making it more popular and mainstream and everything like that. But it was back in 2014, 2015 when Matt bought a RC30 and just started to thump on the guitar. Basically exactly the same as Katie Tunstall does in Black Horse and a Cherry Tree.
Yeah, Black Horse and the Cherry Tree, Jules
Yeah.
Holland Live, her first UK performance, her first
Yeah.
TV performance, and
And
I
wasn't it just
my jaw just
mind-blowing
went,
for a-
Gah!
Yeah,
yeah.
it was
musician
amazing.
to watch. You just, oh, okay, so I want to do that the rest of my life.
Yeah,
Yeah.
totally.
And then obviously Katie Tunstall off and ploughed her own furrow, and then maybe 10, 15 years later Ed Sheeran popped up and really popularised the thing. But for us it was always that initial, it'll always be Katie Tunstall's trick for us.
Totally.
Right.
We were in the middle of a gig in I don't know, Liverpool, somewhere like that, and the audience, we were performing acoustically, and Matt just brought it with him and put it at his feet and went, you know what, if I use it then it's great, and if I don't, they're not expecting it, so that's fine. And he just put a beat down and everyone went mental, and we were like, whoa, it's just a
Yeah,
kick.
it's literally just
a
a
kick.
kick.
That's it. And then
Thud,
he got more
like a 4/4 thud.
yeah,
Just a,
yeah.
Right.
And then we were doing dance tunes at the time, so it's typical 3-chord, 4-chord songs. So then you were putting down little bass lines and things like that.
I
And
think we were doing Rhythm as a Dancer, which is
Yeah.
just 3 chords. So I found a moment where I could stop singing and just record what I was playing on the guitar, and then hopefully hit the loop point at the right moment. And I went, whoa, it works. And this is maybe the third
and the
or-
audience could tell that he was like so happy that it actually worked. So they were
The thing
on
you
our
have to
side.
realise
really.
is this was about the 4th or 5th gig where I'd been playing through this loop pedal, but without ever actually using it because I was too scared. Because I was
Right.
like, oh, what if it goes completely wrong? And then obviously over the next 10 years we figured out, oh, it going wrong is the thing that keeps it fun and exciting.
Yeah,
So
totally.
let's get more stuff.
Yeah.
See how badly we can mess people's gig up.
So yeah, then as soon as I saw how much Matt was enjoying it, then we upgraded him to the 300, the RC 300 Roland.
Who bought the 300? Did you buy it?
I think I bought it for him because I could see how much he was enjoying it. And then I wanted to go, but then came the difficulty of figuring out how to join them together.
Yeah, we knew that they
Right.
could be synced via MIDI.
Before we get on to that, there's a couple
Sure.
of things, because obviously one or two of the videos you had the one RC300, and I noticed
Yes.
that obviously you had 2 microphones, and I could also see that was 2 guitars plugged into the one at one point. Is that
No, I
correct?
think those ones where there's just one looper, it's literally just me doing all the work.
Oh,
And,
okay.
I think I was just playing guitar or whatever I was playing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was the very early point where we were literally just figuring out how to use this tool as part of
Okay.
our performance. So for us, we don't really think a lot of those early ones anymore, because for us it's
Yeah.
the point where we synced them via MIDI and started figuring out how to do it literally as a two-piece
As a
with
two-piece.
what effectively is a 6-track looper between two
Yeah.
sets of feet.
This is the thing. Obviously, the things like the RC600 is a 6-track looper, but you don't have 4 feet and 2 brains, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
The
Yeah,
combination of you guys together, first of all, the vocals and your harmonies are fantastic.
Hello, darkness, my old friend. I've come to talk with you again. Because a vision softly creeping left its
And also,
Thank you.
the proof of this is also your acoustic videos, that you can actually go out there and do it without any equipment or very minimal equipment. They're all great. So how do you break down as a duo who does what in the terms of, first of all, just acoustically harmonizing wise, but then getting into looping? How do you decide?
Every song's different, isn't it?
Pretty much.
Acoustically, it's typically either Matt or myself bringing a song and us both going, I really love this. And then the person that brings it is normally the one that owns it. It's my song. I'm doing this. Now you add to it. And with the looping, it's intricate in different ways for every song, isn't it? It's interesting because we approach it, basically in a different way for every song that we're looking at, really.
I've got an idea, let me put this down, or do you get like a piece of paper and pen out and go, I'm doing this, you're doing that, I'm doing this, you're doing that?
We both have GR55 capability.
Oh, I know, and believe me, that's coming. That question is coming.
So both of our guitars can do bass, they can do whatever. So we have the luxury of just splitting whatever.
We ended up with a situation where it seemed most efficient and most versatile for us to both be on an electric guitar.
Right.
So that at any point, either of us could synthesize an acoustic guitar or synthesize a bass, which you can do with an acoustic, but you're not having to worry about feedback issues. You're not having to worry about a few of the sort of basic acoustic drawbacks of a wooden guitar with a
Mike
chain.
Gibson Hummingbird is terrible for
one of the things
the feedback on stage.
Yeah, from the earliest point, it was all about how do we reduce spill, because that's the thing that knackers every loop performance eventually. So it was all about no acoustic instruments, no wedge monitors, nothing on stage. It ended up being all in-ears or cans now, so we can hear the bass a little better. We literally perform with these. We look ridiculous, but we can hear the mix so much clearer and have much more control.
Do you really? Do you perform with over?
Oh,
that's great.
People think that we're performing to a track or a click.
So doing that, then, do you feel at all separated from the audience when you're playing live?
Oh, yeah.
We have to feel that way.
Oh, you have to feel that way. Interesting.
We do, yeah.
Elaborate on that.
I don't want to hear some drunk guy over the other side of the room shouting Wonderwall.
Yeah, I'm not doing Wonderwall.
I left a space there for you to guess.
I'm not doing Wonderwall. I'm not doing Mr. Brightside. And then if someone comes up and wants to ask you something, you have to go, what? Sorry?
Brilliant.
Or just ignore them.
As few times around the loop as possible. And the real secret weapon to that. Are we into the technical details yet?
We're going to get there. Yeah, we're going to get there.
Okay, so
there's a secret spill weapon.
Basically, we have to feel...
Okay.
You'll know it. You'll know it.
We have to feel separated from the audience because of the amount of concentration that it takes. So Matt starts the loop, and then
we have to be very aware of what the other's doing. At all
and if
times.
one of us messes up, the other one has to wait, and things like that. They have to be done
gone wrong
together.
And the other person doesn't realise it's gone wrong. We've got to find a way to quickly signal, no, we need to go around this another time or another 2 times.
Oh, okay.
So if
because if you've got basically loops that you're putting down in a certain sequence, and then you're putting overdubs down, and something's gone wrong with the initial loop or the bass loop. That's interesting. I never thought of it like that. Okay, of course. So you've got to be
So then if
really
someone
in sync.
interrupts or someone puts you off while they're whooping or dancing or whatever, it can totally throw off the whole song. So these are a lifesaver.
Yeah, we have to be just hyper aware at all times. It takes a huge amount of concentration.
Can you hear me calling out your name? You know that I'm falling and I don't know what to say. Speak a little louder, even shallow. You know that I'm proud and I can't get the words out. I wanna be with you everywhere.
So going into your setup then, just you guys have exactly the same setup each and it's linked together, or do you have a different setup pedal wise? And because I noticed you have the same keyboard, you have the same drum pattern, so it is a duplicate setup, is that correct?
Yeah.
Pretty much, yeah. There's 1 or 2 variations in the actual stump boxes, but essentially it's all the same. And in terms of pedal board real estate, the majority of it is taken up, obviously, by the looper itself and by the unit above that, which we use for guitar effects and vocal effects. But all of the other space goes to MIDI through boxes and splitters and stuff like that.
Technical stuff, not actually stuff that we actually
just
we
housekeeping
use.
stuff.
Yeah, it's a shame.
Not actually like sexy.
It doesn't matter if it's sexy as long as it works. It's doing it. You need
all
stuff.
of that stuff allows us to create a sound that's much more interesting and much more intricate.
Yeah, of course, absolutely.
Later on down the line, but
some people who do have loopers and have like really complex loop setups, like my brain goes straight to things like Carl Walk, and he's got such an array of stuff for one guy.
He's incredible.
Yes, but a lot of loopers basically have a dedicating looping mic, and then they have a singing mic. It looks like you guys have one mic each, and I think you're going into a TC Helicon Voice Live 2. Is that right? A voice
3.
3. You're going into a 3. Talk to me about the signal path for your vocals. How do they even out?
So we each have one mic that goes into the Voice Live, and then from the Voice Live we go into the secret weapon, which
What's
is
the secret weapon?
Ta-da!
It's a splitter.
A Palmer ABO splitter.
So you're splitting your vocal signal.
Yeah.
No, we're choosing where it goes when. So
Right,
we're either
okay.
sending the vocal through the rest of the chain to the looper.
Yeah.
Or we're hitting a button and bypassing the pedal board completely and sending it straight to a separate channel on the desk.
Right.
Which means that when we need to record the guitar and sing, but not record what we're singing, so I need to record the bass line for this verse while singing the verse, but not record what I'm singing.
Yes.
That means I can be recording the bass, singing the song, performing. The bass is being recorded, but the vocal isn't, because it's going straight to the desk. It's not going through.
No spill or anything like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course.
So as far as vocals, that's about where the signal chain ends. And it's literally just that A-B switch that...
And you're using effects on the TC Helicon, like harmonies and things like that.
Oh, they're amazing. They're the best thing we've come across.
Yeah, really good. If you can find a unit that works, and I'm sure
we've had
David
so
Shannon
many
must have
crash.
mentioned this at some point.
We've had so many crash on us.
I think we're on our 4th or 5th units now.
Yeah, but they're still the best thing out there.
Yeah,
though.
there's nothing
For
that
us,
can
anyway.
rival them in terms of sheer weight of the amount of effects, the versatility of them,
The harmonies.
the fact that you can use the step function. So literally, and actually, Voice Live 3 is the thing that tells all of the other units we're now on the next song. So bank up and go to your next. Set
Oh,
of-
really?
Yeah, it connects to the Hansonic HPD20 and the GR55 as well. The loopers, we just stay on bass. We just stay on the same.
Yeah, so
thing.
actually the looper's there's just one patch, and it's literally just the only thing it's for is just recording everything.
So
else
you're
is
doing
done.
what I do with the looper. So I don't do a lot of like every memory is a different song. I just have one patch pretty much. But yeah, I do a very similar thing.
So when it crashes,
does.
crashes during a gig, everything else has to be banked up manually. So the HPD20 has to, and the GR55 has to, and the GR55 is in a rack that you can't actually get to properly. So when mine has crashed, and it's crashed a lot.
Oh, you're talking about the Voice Live.
Yeah, the Voice Live, it's a bit of a nightmare, but it's still something that we just continue to plow along with because of the harmonies, to be honest. They're the best thing that we found so
Pretty
far.
much.
They are
Yeah.
the best. I've tried to leave the TC Helicon boxes alone and use other ones, which I won't mention, and I've gone back. I've just gone back every single time. It's the
they
most
did such a
natural
good job.
sounding like play that you can do. Even if you adjust the chord structure, it still sticks with what you're doing. It's
Yeah,
very,
we
very
did
clever.
a beautiful Simon and Garfunkel song, Only Living Boy in New York, just acoustic, and added the kind of the ending of the song with all the harmonies and everything like that.
Nowhere, we don't know where. Don't get you playing right on time. I know that you're eager to fly now.
Beach Boys songs and everything, it was just absolutely perfect.
When you can get it
Yeah.
to behave properly.
It's old
Beyond
now.
that-
It's an old unit.
Yeah, it's still, for us, it's still the best thing out
But
there.
quite apart from the amount of vocal stuff, the amount of guitar effects that they managed to pack in there is astounding. And when your space is at a premium like it is for us, we can't afford a second pedal board somewhere for just the guitar effects. We wouldn't have time to get over there and activate them even if we wanted to. So being able to switch with the step button, switch to a slightly different reverb, a completely different vocal harmony arrangement, plus a different distortion or overdrive.
Yeah, for the chorus and vocals and
incredible.
adding
Yeah.
beef and things like that. It's
So
really-
yeah,
That's amazing.
we really need them to keep working.
yeah,
Yeah,
take a spare out with us.
I'm
an
praying
umbrella, sort of.
somewhere that there's that group of people who brought it in, because
Yeah.
there's so many people. You could look at forums and they're like, "Where's the voice live
Waiting.
4?
I
Where's
know.
the touch 3?"
We went down that rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone did, and it's because we were all expecting it, and it's just not here yet. So for 2023,
Yeah.
I'm praying maybe.
Sure.
that'll-
We actually felt the same way when the RC 600s came out. We were so excited about
Hmm.
the capabilities, but unfortunately, it's something that isn't really working for us. We have two. We've linked them together.
You do have them. You do have RC600s.
Yeah, yeah, they're
Okay.
downstairs.
They just don't behave
They're not.
in the way we need them to do
Yeah.
our specific
Okay.
show.
Yeah.
And life is too short to go back to the drawing board and figure out a completely new...
You have
We're
quite
totally
a unique
methodology.
setup, so to
We're
change
stuck in our
something,
ways. Yeah.
to change something so fundamental where that is the central core of what you do, it's got to work, and it's got to work
Yeah.
on time.
We're
And
praying
I-
for updates to iron out the kinks, basically. We've got
Fair enough.
specific things that are an issue, and yet we're just waiting on them to get their acts together. But because
Specifically
it's
the way it behaves when it's synced via MIDI and
Yeah.
what activating one track on one looper causes the other looper to do. They just don't behave in the same way. It's always been the case that with the RC300s, mine is the main looper and Soph's is the one that receives MIDI messages from
Right.
mine. It has to be
Okay.
that one way or the other, and it just ended up being mine that was the main, the A unit, as it were.
Okay.
So it's always been the case that hitting all start on my looper will start all of my tracks as well as all of Soph's tracks.
Okay.
And that's something that we've just learned to live with. If there's something that needs to be taken out, we just know at that moment Soph has to hit stop on this track almost immediately after I hit all start.
which is the fun with "You Can Call Me Al"
Yeah.
that I have.
Oh, I
So
see.
when there's
So
a
if you
moment in
if you hit all start, it starts
Everything we've
both of
recorded
them,
starts all at the same
and then
time.
Soph has to go turn off.
I have to
Yeah.
stop.
So
Yeah,
we
I
could
have
be
to
hearing
stop
a
mine
chorus and a
immediately.
verse at the same time. which
Sometimes I
we
have to
don't
hit
want.
both off at the same time.
So are
But-
you literally doing this? Are you heel to toe
Well,
double?
what I do is one of the loops has a moment of silence in it, so I can take the one out that starts on the one, and then the one starts on the and.
Or
I can
if,
take that
Got
even if
you.
that's not the case, there's usually...
I'm basically
we can
jumping up and down while
We can
Matt's
afford a
just playing
single
along.
beat where something's heard that shouldn't be and stuff in order to serve the bigger picture. But with the RC600, starting any track on my looper causes all of Soph's tracks to start. For example, there might be a moment where we're rocking out and it's all going brilliantly, and then I quickly hit all stop and then start track one on my looper, which might be nothing more than a... And that's the verse where we're going to do the kind of drop out of
Breakdown,
everything, and it's
yeah.
just
Right.
vocals and a bit of drums.
But my bass,
With
my
this-
drums, my
But with
you
the
know,
600, we
strings.
can't do that, because as soon as I hit play on anything, all start or track 1, track 2, or track 3, all of Soph's stuff starts at the same time. So either she's now got to get ready to hit all stop, where she would normally get ready to hit stop on a specific track, or she's got to stop the tracks that she doesn't want to hit. Anyway, the point is, it's
Wow.
a different.
Yeah.
It's possible. Entirely.
It's very
possible,
stressful for me.
but we're not
Yeah,
really
it
prepared
sounds
to
like-
He's
complete.
fine. He's got it all okay.
Messing up as well, because with the amount of options that we've got with the 300s is much less as well. Even with two
Yeah.
foot switches that have two switches each, that's once you've set up your all start, all stop, and your clear all, which speeds up time in between tracks and
Have
you
a
clear
little-
things manually.
A little
Yeah.
delay on vocal effects and things like
And
that.
your reverb on off. That's 3 of your potential switches
Yeah.
used up. So I don't know.
We didn't realise it until we got the 600s how much we actually stop and start our songs as well.
And actually,
Yeah.
one of the
it's-
things we've forgotten is the reason that we had to move from the RC30, which we had first, to the RC300 is literally the only looper we could find that had an all start button.
Right. Okay.
Which is such a simple thing, but actually the amount of songs that stop halfway through a verse or have an
Yeah.
extra bar somewhere that you don't
Yeah.
expect, and those are the things that make those songs really engaging
Yeah.
and really fun. And it's so difficult to do it with a looper that doesn't have an all start, an all stop, all start button,
Got you. Yeah.
because it's self-explanatory. You need the ability to either stop before the end of the phrase and then
Yeah,
start
to
back
play
up
something
at the,
different
at the start
or-
of the phrase, or whatever. However you choose to do it, it just became a really important thing, and we realized that way before we even got the 300. We were like, so we can't do this song because it does this at this point, and if we don't do that, then most exciting part of the song
Got you. Yeah,
doesn't
makes
happen,
sense.
so there's no point. So it's almost as if the technology basically has served our need to do things the right way. and
Okay.
stuff.
Yeah, makes
And
sense.
actually that applies to You Can Call Me Out as well.
Yeah.
It's a song that we wanted to do for years and years, but we couldn't because it's absolutely dependent on that amazing brass line, you know, the ba
Yeah.
da ba ba, and we couldn't find any keyboard or any synth or anything that had good enough brass samples
Yeah.
to actually make that sound aggressive and glossy and the way a brass section actually sounds. And the closest we ever found was the GR55, which is the guitar synth.
The GR55 is actually, funny enough, my next question, because whose idea was it to put an acoustic guitar through the GR55? Because on one of your videos,
I think it was
it's an acoustic guitar that's actually going...
Oh yeah, that's me. Yeah,
You got
yeah,
that.
that's my Gibson. Yeah, yeah. Well, I think we're
'Cause
on
it's
the
pure
Go Down
genius.
at the time.
Yeah.
I love it. I'm not complaining at this point. It's
No,
pure
no.
genius.
By the way, don't get me started on the amount of people that said you shouldn't be putting that on that beautiful guitar. Do not do that. That looks absolutely terrible.
You've ruined that
Why
guitar.
have you done that? It's a workhorse.
Because it pays money to do it. They
That's
can carry on
the thing.
complaining while you make money. Yeah.
Yeah.
These things are tools in order to achieve
Yeah,
it.
totally. It's
So,
beautiful
I mean,
guitar.
if we were collecting them because of how beautiful they look, then perhaps we wouldn't. You
Yeah.
know,
I mean,
have
guitars
have the
are
gloss
meant to
finish
be
shaved
played,
off
aren't
or
they?
what- Yeah, they've
Going
gotta
from
do-
guitars onto something completely different. When and why did you introduce not one but two Roland hand sonics?
Okay, so Matt was on the HPD 10 and we wanted to add our own samples. And also the pads on the HPD 10 are really tough. They're not like very nice to play. So I I saw Katie Tunstall in 2016 using one and I was like, that is amazing. So I think we went to PMT in Manchester,
Yeah.
went to go check them out, felt how soft they are and how, just how playable they are,
nicer.
really.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
got one, and then Matt got very jealous, and then a year later, Matt got one.
I stuck with the HPD 10 for ages.
We've
going,
still
no,
got
this
it.
is fine.
We've still got it downstairs, but so we both have them now. But in our Fleetwood Mac cover of Everywhere, at the end where the vocals go ha 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 ha. That's all my voice that we've recorded and
Right.
sampled and put onto the HPD
Oh,
20. So
that's
I'm
cool.
playing my own voice.
And we
basically,
did
so-
that because we
That's
looked
cool, though.
everywhere for
Yeah.
for a sample. We were watching Paramore perform it live, and
Yeah.
I think she's on an octopad or something like that.
yeah,
and
yeah.
we thought, oh, maybe it's one of the built-in samples. Maybe it's just a short vocal. But we literally found the sample list for that unit that she's using and looked through it and
Really?
couldn't see anything that sound. So then I went online and found somebody had sampled every sample in that unit and uploaded them. So I downloaded those looking for this sound, and it wasn't there.
It's
So
like 2 days
eventually-
worth of work.
Eventually, we just said, well, let's just record it ourselves then and stick it on this unit.
And it's like my favourite outro of a song ever. It's
But
so
actually,
Really,
you've probably
really good.
forgotten this, but I think the reason originally for needing a drum pad rather than relying on a vocal beatboxing or slapping on the guitar or anything like that wasn't to have drum kit samples, it was to have bongos and congas. Because they're so prevalent in so many songs and you don't realise. If you think of
Jamiroquai.
Jamiroquai, Cosmic Girl,
Send me in the hyperspace when I see her pretty face. Send me in the hyperspace when I see her pretty face.
or Higher
Call
and
Me
Higher,
Out.
that Jackie Wilson song. Your love lifting me. It starts with that.
Yeah, yeah, it
And
does.
it's
Yeah.
absolutely integral to the sound of that song. And we were doing so much stuff where I was like, oh, we really need bongos, and I'm not prepared to carry some bongos around with me and set them up and mic them up.
What I find really interesting with the hand sonic, though, is the fact that I didn't realise until about just before, as you said in this interview, I thought you just had that just plugged into the looper. I didn't realise that you had it MIDI synced as well. So as you change the song, it
Yes.
changes the samples
Yeah.
on the. So that's on another
Every
level.
piece of kit is
Yeah.
receiving a bank up and down signal.
Yeah.
It's literally just about saving time because people have got such short attention spans. You can't really afford to be wasting any kind of extraneous seconds doing housekeeping and stuff.
And also in Red Alert, there's a snare that we have on a roll effect. So it goes
Yes. Yes. I saw
perfectly
that.
in time with the tempo. So
Yeah.
there's little things like that
Right.
we feel like really make a difference and elevate a song.
Thank you, actually,
Not-
Soph, because what you've just done is you've just answered the question that I had in my head, which was like, she must have practiced that for ages to get that on time. No, it's MIDI synced. We're fine. It's MIDI. Just hold the button.
The funny thing is, actually, the roll effect is one of the few things that the hand sonic do. In fact, I think I'm right in saying that the hand sonic doesn't receive MIDI tempo.
Oh,
it just
doesn't?
receives program change. So that
Oh,
roll effect
okay.
isn't
I thought it
perfectly
did.
synced, but it's so fast that we get away with it.
Oh, I
You
thought it
don't
was.
really
Oh, okay.
hear that it's slightly out of time.
Then
So
in
many
that case, then kudos to Soph for holding a guitar.
everything suddenly stops and it's a string quartet or an
Yes.
orchestral moment. We were like, that's impossible. How do we? And then obviously the GR55 comes to the rescue again because all we need to do is have that string patch ready. Each string is a different instrument. The E and the B might be violins, and then the D and the G can be a viola, and then the E and the A can be a cello or whatever. And suddenly we've got a string quartet
Yeah,
ready to
sounds
go.
beautiful.
And are
Hit
you
the old
programming
stop
that?
and we're
Are you
into that.
programming that up yourself?
Yeah.
Actually, there is a preset that's built in that is essentially doing that anyway. I think it's
Okay.
called Rich Strings or something. So a slight variation of that with maybe some. There's so much you can do with it.
But with Red
Yeah.
Alert, because it's at its core, it's just, is it like 4 chords, 3 chords, something
Two.
like that? Is it 2 chords?
I think it's 2.
There's a bass to it, and then there's quite a lot of stuff that we actually play live, so it's
Yeah.
on top of the track. So bringing
It's such
in
a
like
high energy video, like that
Yeah.
you do, and the thing is so much going on that like I had to just no, you're welcome because kudos to you because the planning involved just to execute that on a video is
Yeah.
hard enough. And I've said this before: when you play live in a pub on a Saturday night, people go, "Hey, that was great," and they don't really notice your little sort of twiddly mistakes. When it's a
Yeah.
video, it's final, and it's got to be bob on, or people can just replay that mistake you did, and they can really notice it. So to be able to execute that really well, I take my hat off to you because it's top
Oh,
marks
thank
for that
you.
because it looks
Yeah.
fantastic.
That
It's
means
such-
a huge
It's our biggest conquest to date, isn't it? That and Move Your Feet
Yeah.
by Junior Senior.
Yes. And strangely, fairly simple dance tunes.
Yeah.
That should
Yeah.
be
Well,
quite.
it's the stuff that we add on top that we just don't feel like we wanted to make it a little
That
bit
was another
different.
one where we couldn't find a decent enough brass sample on a keyboard for Move Your Feet with that main line.
Yeah.
It sounded terrible on everything except the GR55. So I've literally rigged it so that when I hit a string, it literally plays a brass sample that just goes pop. So now I've got to perfectly play and then loop.
Right.
And
And if
I'm
there's one mistake in there, you're going to hear it.
what I'm doing in the breakdown is I'm hitting the snare, I'm going ba ba, and then I'm hitting a chord at the same time as hitting the snare, and then hitting another chord. It's like a low bass note.
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I couldn't play the guitar and play the snare at the same time, so it's doing. Two things.
That's
that-
one of the great
that
things
one.
about the hand
hand
sonic
sonic.
is that you're not limited to just percussion. You can upload anything you want, and actually, there's quite a lot of synthy stuff in
Right.
the preset menu. So
This
you
is
can- you can
dangerous.
cheat
This is
a lot.
dangerous.
Yeah.
I'm going to end up buying a hand sonic. I can see this happening.
Oh, we
We
have a
should be
discount.
sponsored
We
by
have a
Roland.
discount if you.
You gotta go.
Don't tell me that. There's a credit card burning a hole in my pocket.
Obviously, there are 2 of us, but we hit that ceiling of what we can do very quickly, didn't we?
Yeah.
With
That was
song
my
as
next
well.
question, actually. Like with the looping and everything that you're doing, does it now hinder your creativity? Because you get to a point where going, we can't do this, so we're going to need another piece of equipment to solve this issue. Or do you feel like you then have to go, well, let's make this version our own, but then you're not being true to the original. How does that feel?
It gave us a thing to aim for, to go, let's try and do this as well as possible and as true to the original as possible. But it also then shone a light on all of the ways that's not possible. And I think just going through that process and just trying to make it as good as we possibly can, also at the same time made us okay with the things that can't be done. There isn't really much else that we need.
We've set a limit now. We're not spending any more money on music equipment.
And also,
we've got everything that we need, literally. And we bring in 3 trolleys worth of equipment when we work.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
We have a transit van, 3 trolleys, and then we have a Swan Flight unit, which has our mixer, our GR55s, our
In-ears.
VL3s, our in-ears and everything in it. So, you know, by the end of the day, like when we come home, we can barely walk
It's
because there's
backbreaking
so
work.
much
It really
stuff.
is.
Obviously, it's all protected by Swan Flight cases, which make it even heavier. And the pedal boards are Schmidt Array, which are made out of wood, but they're still pretty bloody heavy.
Very heavy.
So yeah, we've said now no more. We're not spending anything else apart from buying the 600s, which we thought would actually make our show a lot more compact. And we thought, oh, maybe just 2 trolleys, maybe even 1 trolley, but it's not worked out that way just yet.
And actually, the thing is, going back to what you were saying about that first time when we just had an RC330 with us that we hadn't used, and then suddenly there was boof, 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 where there wasn't that before. That response that got, we've never managed to meet that. Every piece of equipment we've added is diminishing returns in terms of how much people care.
Yeah.
Now that you know what I'm talking about.
I
don't
do
you?
know what you're talking about. Cause
We're a band that perform looper sets during evening receptions
Yeah.
and things like that. So it's there are only ever 2 or 3 people that are musicians themselves that haven't danced all night that come up and go, oh my god, that was amazing. But to us, every time we've added an extra piece of equipment, it's the
question
response
is
has
though,
gotten us.
and if you don't mind me asking this, and this is not part of my list, this is an additional question: are you making people dance? Yes. Are they happy? Yes. Then is that not job done?
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely, that's fine.
Yeah.
And actually, music has become so commodified now. Sorry to get all serious for a second, but for the majority of the average person, music is just something that comes out of a phone for free whenever you want it, and you can start and stop it at your leisure. And everything is built around you getting what you want immediately, and things changing as soon as your
Ready for
mood
them to
changes.
change. Yeah.
So when you're then faced with a live performance that's been rehearsed for weeks and weeks to make it work perfectly, you've got to be okay with being a member of an audience. And this isn't my favourite song, but I might like the next one, kind of thing.
The reason why I asked you about the question about going so true to the original is, why don't we just put a CD on then? Because actually what you're doing is you're putting your own version of it on because you're looping. So giving sounds to the original is great, but also at the same time having that performance, nothing beats that, right?
Yeah, so that's why it's become probably the most important thing for us, is finding people who like what we do first and require live music second. There's
That's
nothing
cool.
worse than turning up somewhere where somebody just needed a band, and then you turn up with this completely weird, quirky, unique way of doing things, and actually all they wanted was to hear the songs that they know, the way that they know them, but maybe with a guy with a mic or whatever and some backing tracks. We've worked really hard to try and make sure that our stuff is only seen by people who are going to get it and going to enjoy it, and the fact that it's not cookie cutter stuff.
No, that's
And you
fine.
can sense
Just-
the kind of people that get in touch as well, that are the opposite.
That's
what we're
great.
looking for.
So just for the audience, just explain the kind of venues that you play. What is the kind of like genre, like niche that you go for?
In terms of making a living, weddings and corporate stuff are all fantastic. And if you want to do it full time and keep the lights going, the chances are that you're not going to be able to avoid doing that stuff. But they're not necessarily the places where the response is the best to what we do. Weddings aren't filled with music lovers. They're filled with people who were invited to a wedding. So in terms of people enjoying what we do specifically, I don't know. It's places where people go specifically to listen to live music, which is music venues which are dying out. Streaming online, we've had a little go at. But
We failed.
Okay.
it's just
dramatically.
it's just so much of a... I don't know how you can be bothered, John. I really don't. It's so difficult. to get it to work to the standard that you want it to be seen in the end. Like, anyone can point a phone at themselves, but it's got to look really good.
I'm glad you said that, because let's turn over to your YouTube channel. So the channel has now been going for 8 years. I don't know if you knew that. The first video is live in March of 2014, which was Lady Hear Me Tonight. You continue to interlace loop covers and acoustic covers, so I guess to showcase different kinds of performances that you do. But your first video with the RC300 was the Shut Up and Dance cover. And your biggest video is Hooked on a Feeling, with almost, so it's now over 100,000 views.
How have we not mentioned that one?
Yeah, I know, yeah.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside of me. Girl, you just don't realize what you do to me. When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling.
I have to say that every video is brilliantly shot.
Thank you.
And the editing and everything, it just looks great. Every one of them looks like a music video that it's a promotional video, like a promo video.
So good.
Thank you.
That's
And
exactly
one thing I
what-
love with your videos as well is that you're not afraid of letting nature get involved. I've seen videos where you can hear the wind in the background. You did one where you were actually recorded whilst you were at a venue because the backdrop was so flipping lovely.
Her name was Lola. She was a showgirl with yellow feathers in her hair and her dress cut down for there. She would merengue and do the cha-cha. And while she tried to be a star, Tony always tended bar across the room.
I'll always be there when you
You also have every video looking really professional. So my question is, who is helping you with this, put it all together?
Since 2019, we've been recording our own videos.
Okay.
Before that, it was
He was a videographer,
guy-
friend of ours.
in Manchester, wasn't it?
Yeah,
But
who was amazing. Videographers can and should be paid quite handsomely for what they do, because it takes a huge amount of skill and dedication and some very expensive equipment. But we wanted to put out a video a week, ideally. So we can't hand over 250 quid a week
Know the feeling?
to keep videos going. So we did a clever thing.
So hang on, let's go back a little bit. Since 2014, Matt's been editing our videos. Well, both of us together. So we've cut costs in terms of having someone edit it because we're control freaks, basically. We like to control exactly how things
All
work.
loop artists are control freaks. Don't worry about that.
Pretty much. All musicians, all
Sort of the definition of looping,
self-employed people, yeah. So yeah, we've been doing that for so long. So we've controlled how our YouTube channel has looked since I think the first 2-3 videos were edited by someone else. And then we were like, nah, we want to do this ourselves, because I would have preferred to have seen a shot like this or a shot like that. So back in 2019, we upgraded a camera that we had, started learning how to film in our living room downstairs. And then the pandemic hit. Then we kind of had a good 18 months of doing literally nothing. We converted both of our spare rooms, we've got 2 spare rooms, into studios, started recording and learning how to make the songs sound a lot more professional, and also filming our covers downstairs as well in our living room. So yeah, we kitted out our living room.
There's a whole spate of stuff on the YouTube channel that looks suspiciously similar to
And we were having trouble dressing it to make it like, it was getting to the point where like every 2 or 3 days we would do something new. I was like, I don't know how to make this look any different.
The fact is that you've taken the time to actually be bothered to even dress it differently so it looks like a different location. A lot of people don't even bother doing that. I have the same backdrop with different coloured boxes in, and have another backdrop of that. So when I go live and stuff, it's the same. I'm over there with the lights that flash, and that's about it. But you guys, you're genuinely thinking about the edit, and you're thinking about the film production value of the video when you're doing this, right?
I mean, it's always been important to us as well that things look as well as they're able able to look within the whatever budget you've got. And it's actually not difficult because there's quite a lot of pretty things in the world. You just have to go to them and stand in front of them. And if you're not able to do that for whatever reason, then it doesn't take a huge amount of... There are videos that we've shot downstairs in our front room that look fantastic because we made a point of playing with the lights in a certain way, or we bought a £30 smoke machine from Amazon or something just to flood the room with haze so that the lights would have these little beams cutting through the smoke and stuff.
Your neighbours must think that's really interesting.
Yeah, we got really lucky as well because our front room used to be 2 rooms, but the dividing wall has been knocked through. So it's an unusually long front room, which is impossible to heat. So we literally live upstairs. But it meant we could get a camera far enough away to get a wide shot with
of both of
us in.
Yeah.
Which,
And the
with
good
all
thing
your
about
gear.
us, yeah, pretty much, yeah. The good thing about us controlling how we film everything is if there's a specific shot where one of us is, say, doing a string line on the keyboard or whatever, and then they pick up the shaker, we know exactly what's coming next. We know the movement that needs to happen. Whereas when you're on a time crunch and you've got, say, like 8 hours to get like 4 videos filmed with a separate videographer, you can't explain everything that you want to get in terms of how you want the video to look and things like that. So we're
Do you
very
storyboard
lucky
that out then? Do you actually storyboard how it's going to look, or do you just film it multiple times?
we just
Not
do
really, no.
multiple.
We know what each other is. We know what track Matt's bringing in and out. If he's
I
going
was
to
going to
the
say, is
voice
that
live or
because of the
whatever.
structure of the song as you go through the song?
Yeah.
You know, obviously what's coming out of the loop.
Yeah, so before we even pick up a camera, we've spent at least 2 or 3 days
Knowing
figuring out what has to happen and when and how many times around we go through record this loop or this bar or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, we're pretty familiar, at least with what ourselves is doing, if not the other person as well.
There's nothing
that's
better
right.
than having a musician film another musician because you know what's coming next. Do you know what I mean? Instead of a videographer that doesn't really know how high up the fretboard you need to be for this bass line, or do you know what I mean?
So
And they're
someone
trying
who's
to
not
find
like a specific music video editor
Yeah,
or video,
pretty much.
music video camera person.
Yeah, when you wait in, when you've seen someone film you for an hour or whatever, and you're watching them try and find focus, and you're like, no, it's up there. Can you just focus a little bit better, please? We're control freaks, basically.
Yeah.
So
No, that's fine.
we've.
But yeah, there's certain things also that a musician would want to be seen that a videographer might not necessarily consider important. That, I don't know, from a looping point of view, one of our loop covers, which is dead simple, it's literally just one voice live, and we're using the looper that's baked into the Voice Live 3. So we started crowded around the same mic, putting percussion stuff down, and then Soph buggers off to her side and picks up her guitar, which we need to see because it makes sense of the scene. Like, we can't just stay on a wide for the whole thing. We can't just stay on me and have Soph walk out of the shot and then magically have a guitar on. We need to see that transition from her being a percussionist at a mic to her then becoming a guitar, in that case a drummer, because you're literally just going
Just
for
hit
the whole
the
song.
guitar.
Those kind of little aesthetic moments, just as important as the musical side of
And we have just as
Wow.
much fun, I think, of actually creating the edit in terms of filming it. I think it's a lot more. It's for us because it's so new. Because we've only been filming since 2019. It's still very fresh and very new to us. So it's very exciting for us to put our own spins on,
it's a whole
on our
new
YouTube videos.
It's a whole
That's
new
cool.
sort of set of toys to play.
It's
with,
great
skills
to hear
learn.
you talk about it though, because you can see how passionate you are about it, and how you think about it is just as important as thinking about the loops themselves.
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the thing it's people's window into what you do. The first thing that people are going to see. So it needs to be as good as you can make it, at least.
Yeah.
How many songs does The Distance have under their belt?
Is this in terms of uploads on YouTube? Or
No, I'm talking about how many can you play until you fall over?
Loop covers or just covers in
Anything.
general?
Let's just
Everything.
say,
150?
Everything.
I reckon before we start to repeat ourselves, we could probably get through 7 hours worth of material.
How many times you going around those loop covers,
I'm
babe?
perfectly happy to play all the songs at half speed if it burns up the stage time.
Calm down,
1,
everyone.
2,
Yeah.
3,
Yeah.
4, and a 1, 2. Brilliant. But seriously, like, what do you normally do? Do you normally do like 2 45-minute sets? Do you do 3 45-minute sets? Do you
2
do, what do you do
hours,
normally? 2 hours.
straight through.
Yeah,
2 hours
45
straight
minutes.
through without a break?
We
Yeah.
feel like we're just starting
No break.
to get.
Wow.
We're just starting to really settle in and get people comfortable and stuff by the end of that first 45.
We don't perform past 9 o'clock anymore as well.
You don't perform past 9.
So yeah, we perform from 7 till 9 and then we bugger off home.
Nice.
People don't
That's
care.
cool.
People don't care.
So if you're doing
People-
like a wedding venue, for example, are you guys like finishing and then it's DJ, or are you finishing and then there's a full band? I take it depends on what wedding you're going to.
Either
Typically,
or.
there's a
Usually
DJ.
it's a DJ, yeah. And very often we'll have been doing acoustic stuff right from the start in the ceremony and the drinks reception and the wedding breakfast. We'll just be on two guitars.
So they're sick of us by the end of the day.
Yeah. And then in the evening we'll do the full Looper show. So we realised that actually this sort of works better as an introduction to the party rather than being the party itself, because then there's less pressure on us to please every single person in the room who've all got a different favourite song that chances are we haven't spent a week learning and figuring out how to build perfectly. So we're disappointing people left, right with that. But also after a certain point in the night, particularly in the UK, people are just dancing around a car alarm.
I've totally got what you're doing. What you're doing is you are
Making our lives easier.
Yeah, you're making the lives
Giving
easier, because
us-
what you're doing is you're playing the perfect time before you get the really drunk people going, have you got this? Do you know Meatloaf? Do you
all
know
of
this?
all of the people that are an issue are still at the bar at that time. It's been quite
Yeah,
a
they
revelation
tend to-
for us. We've been a lot happier.
They tend
It's
to-
been the last since COVID, since the pandemic finished. We came back and we had a good 18 months off, and we were quite happy in terms of not having to go out and perform for people. It was quite upsetting for us, wasn't it, really?
Yeah,
That,
it wasn't-
that in terms of we weren't really missing it, and we realised the thing that we weren't missing was performing past a certain time, really.
Was it the hassle?
Yeah.
It was the...
It was the drunk people.
It was
pretty much.
It was interacting with
That's what it
people
is.
who have the potential to make the next day's gig not possible.
Yeah, because they've
spilt a
ruined
pint
something.
into a piece of gear or something.
Because
that-
you can have the insurance to cover everything that you've got,
Yeah,
but
of
at the end
course.
of the day, if you haven't got something, another looper for tomorrow, then you have to give someone
somebody's
their wedding
not
fee
getting
back.
a
Do you know what I
band
mean?
the next
Because
day or
they've-
whatever. And there's a school of thought that says that you sign up for that whenever you stand on stage and say, "Hey, look at me," but actually you don't get chance to get near enough to your huge musical heroes. I couldn't get near enough to Ben Folds to put him off his stride when he's in the middle of a show. Because it's set up that way. You're the audience, and then there's a gap between the audience and the stage, and then there's a gap between the front of the stage and the dude who you love, or who's doing the thing that you...
Yeah.
But when it's you and them at ground level in a room, if somebody decides, I want to shout into that mic, there's very little you can do to stop them other than just not be there at that time, not put yourself in that position.
So what we do now is we kill ourselves with a 2-hour straight through show, and we're knackered throat wise by the end of it.
Yeah,
but it's worked out perfectly.
But it
really
ends at 9 o'clock when the people who care have had a fantastic 2 hours from 7 o'clock when the first dance straight into us or whatever. The people who are enjoying what we do will enjoy it whatever time of day, and the people who probably wouldn't care, they get to then have their thing, which is just a DJ that they can hassle or whatever.
Yeah.
Or
Very interesting
ideally,
concept, actually, because obviously there's a lot of places that have a certain structure, which is like, you will go on at this time. So to have that structure for yourselves, you're protecting yourselves, and I totally understand that, and I totally get it. I've had people rob the mic. I've had people literally try and take I have an iPad for lyrics because I'm in my 40s and I can't remember them all, and I've had literally someone try and take it off the clip thing because they said, "Is this your book of songs?" I was like, "I'm not a karaoke machine." But yeah, I totally get that completely. You said the ultimate thing was us and them, and there is a battle that goes on in between, even if it's silent. But I totally get it.
If you're in a room where the people who are watching you are there because you're there, they've bought a ticket because they want to see
respect
you,
you, they're happy
then
to
it's a
see
completely different ball game. But
at the end of a wedding, but if we're just performing during the evening reception, that's the time where everyone gets to let their hair down, and drink obviously amplifies everyone's personality. There are certain people that are gonna be an issue, and some people that also don't like the fact that someone else is the center of attention, which isn't. We don't go into performing to be the center of attention. We go into it because we love music. So there are some people that also don't really like that aspect of, oh, she's showing off or he's showing off. No, I want to show off, kind of thing.
But whatever people's motivations are for who they are and how they behave, the fact is it was a huge risk for us going, let's just see what happens if we say we perform up to 9 p.m.
It's the luxury of being
beyond.
self-employed, isn't it? To call your own shots, but also be really worried in the fact that you're not sure whether or not you're going to be able to make a living.
But it turned out that the people for whom that's a deal breaker are generally the people that we didn't really want to end up performing for at 11:30 at night anyway. And the people who like our thing specifically and what we do and the way we do it.
Have it when we're happy to perform it, when we're comfortable finishing. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'll be happy with it.
Yeah,
makes
and they're
sense.
perfectly happy
cool.
to bring a giant CD player from home to do the last 2 hours a night, or draft in a DJ or...
So, next question. Describe your looping to someone who has never seen it before.
A dance.
Yeah.
It's a synchronized dance
Yeah, it's
between
like
two people.
watching a choreographed tap dancing routine. I would probably say, remember when you were a kid and you found out that you could get a cassette recorder and you could record something on one cassette and then you could play that back but record on a second cassette at the same time, and it would record what the first cassette was playing as well as whatever you sang over the top. It's that. But slightly more advanced.
That is
with
also
two
showing your
people.
age, because if you say that to a 19-year-old, I don't think they're going to understand what you're talking about.
That is true. Oh, that
Cassettes
thing
are coming
from
back
the
in a
80s
big way, guys.
on Urban Outfitters.
Yeah.
For me, what we do is two people that together, who live together, who loop together, and occasionally get very angry at each other because things aren't going right, and it needs to be a perfect little bubble, but it's not.
It's got to be somebody's fault.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
So there's a
Somebody's-
lot of side eyes. Why
somebody's
did you
messed
do
this
that? Why is that? Can you do that again, please? Because that's terrible.
If you could give one piece of looping advice to a musician, what would it be?
Now then, I've got just the thing. Sensible shoes.
Ooh, okay.
No
Elaborate.
shoelaces. Shoelaces are out. I'm sorry. Kiss goodbye to shoelaces forever.
Okay.
Because what will happen is
I feel like
you'll
there's
be
a story
reaching
here.
the same story over and over again as well. You're going to reach for a pedal and you won't realise that your other foot is standing on the very tip of one of your shoelaces. So as your leg goes forward, your shoelace gets untied. You may very well hit the button you needed to, but then you've got an untied shoelace for
You're
the
going to
rest of the
fall
show.
over.
And if you perform the way we do, there's no time for you to tie your shoelace. There's barely time to have a sip of water. So you're doing
I had
the
this
rest
funny
of that
feeling
set.
for a moment that basically Matt would have stood in his own shoelace and just hit the deck.
Yeah.
It's been very close because
I've
that's the
nearly
thing.
fallen over a few times.
Because for the rest of that hour or 45 or whatever you're doing, it's something extra now that you've got to avoid. I can't stand on that shoelace again because I've got to use this foot another 400 times. Velcro shoes, sensible soles that are firm but also squishy because you're going to be standing on your feet and doing a lot of one-legged
Yeah,
stuff.
warm up.
Yeah,
like
dirty
stretch,
carbs.
stretch. No, seriously,
so boring,
It's
but it's
ridiculous,
actually the most
when
important
we're
thing.
literally just about to go on, we're like doing lunges and things like that. But because we use the Hansonic HPD 20, also has an output for samples for your feet. So like I can bring in like a crash or kick or tambourine or whatever. We can
Now
do
I've
that with.
seen this. You guys have got FS5 pedals, like I
Yeah,
saw-
three.
you got
I've
like
got
a-
three of them
like-
joined together, and Matt's got two.
So they're just
Yeah.
full samples
Yeah.
on the HPD, and they're whatever we need them to be. Most of the time,
So-
it'll be a kick, a crash, and maybe a snare.
So
for the odd
basically,
off.
like when Matt's bringing everything in, I can hit a crash whilst playing a bass line on the one, so it covers everything coming in.
Feels a bit
if that
more
makes
natural, doesn't it?
makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. For me, it would be don't loop in a typical way. My favourite thing is probably because there's two of us. Matt, one of us covers the bases of the entire song, so the bass line and things like that, and then I put like shaker down or like little drum fills that I record. And bringing in those drum fills as well as being able to play a bass line or something like that is like one of my favourite things to do because it elevates the song. As
Right.
opposed to just being a 4-chord song and it being rather repetitive with just a kick and a snare. It's nice to be able to have that thing that makes it sound a bit more, what's the word?
A bit more
Intricate.
involved.
Yeah.
Are you talking about
Yeah.
stuff like the tom fill in?
And you can call me out. So for that, the tom bomb
Yeah.
when it comes in, and then the bass, and then the brass comes in, and everything comes in. I record that on a 1-bar loop. So then when Matt brings everything in, I have to bring that out straight away because otherwise it'll.
So you don't want to hear it every time. You
Yeah.
just want to hear it
So-
when you choose to.
So I bring that in just before the
Is
brass.
that
hits,
one
basically.
bar loop on its own loop?
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yes.
would you one shot that?
It's easier to just know that it's going to come in unless you stop it, because then
Got
it
you.
becomes a
Oh
sort
yeah,
of
I press
automatic
I
response.
press twice just in case. Sorry, I'm pressing the floor whilst doing
Getting
it.
well into it.
Yeah, I press twice just in case it doesn't come out on the one.
And also because
Got you.
we're only using one patch on the looper, then that track is locked into being a one shot then. And
Yeah,
we
you'd have to
need-
bend
we
down
need
and
every
change
song
it
to
and-
basically behave
Got
the
you.
same way.
Yeah.
that
And
makes
also
sense.
there's an instance in Loveful which I'm playing bass on throughout the song. So I don't loop the bass, but you loop basically the bass of the song, don't you really? Yeah, I loop like a little kind of, it's like a string line, like a synth line thing, and then the snare fill. And the snare fill has a bar of silence, so that when Matt presses all start, there's a bar of silence, and then it comes in with the snare fill, if that makes sense. So it's these little intricate things that you do when you build in these things that actually elevate the song.
Yeah, and stuff like that just presents itself as you work it and
The
work
little
it.
quirks
And
of
you
how
figure
you
out,
know.
we could actually do it this way, and then that saves us 4 seconds at the start of the song or whatever.
Yeah.
It's stuff that every looper goes through, but for us it was 6 weeks or 7 weeks of literally standing in this room facing each other with 2 loopers synced by MIDI, basically testing all the ways that we could make them crash. Because that's
There was a lot of ways we could make
that's the thing that's going to end the performance, is if this thing just stops working because we've sent a command to it that it can't handle or whatever. So after
We're gonna have to get like a boss to contact you or something, just so they can actually get all the crash reports and then fix this RC600 dual thing problem.
it's the thing, yeah. We've thought about trying to email them and start a dialogue and stuff, but we're also trying to earn a living at the same time, and we just haven't got time to necessarily be play testers.
I think once a year we'll probably keep them, and once a year we'll just boot them up and update them and see if it works.
I have used them
Pray to God.
occasionally for gigs that were supposed to be acoustic gigs, and we thought we'll just take this as a little bit of extra if we want to put some percussion down and just make it a little bit more interesting for a couple of songs.
It just hinders my ability to loop, really. For Matt,
It
it's
hinders our
perfect.
ability to be a looping duo.
It's perfect
yeah.
for you to
For
do
soloists, it's absolutely
phenomenal.
a huge upgrade from the 300. Yeah, but for our thing, we're like, oh, okay, so I'll stick with the 300. At least we know all of its kind of little quirks and stuff. 300.
Yeah. Dinosaurs.
Oh, here's another tip as well for anyone who
You're so practical with
Yeah.
looping shoes.
for anyone who is still using the 300 for whatever reason. There probably aren't many people left, but
There's more than you think, actually.
Oh, really?
Really?
Okay.
The-
Purists, I like it.
the foot switch for a lot of people is their control over various effects and stuff. But if you're using it the way we do, where all of your effects are off board and they're dealt with before the signal gets to the looper, it's really useful to have that pedal set as a volume cut. So when we kick the back of the pedal down, that cuts the volume of every input by about 45%, 50%. Something.
So when you're looping vocals,
because when you're
it's
looping,
perfect.
you're also mixing as you go. So if you know
of
that
course.
this guitar part needs to be considerably quieter than everything else, you can literally just step on the thing, record the guitar part, and you know that it's going to be there, but it's not going to be too loud.
Talking about the expression pedal on the RC300,
The expression pedal, so we've set it
that
up.
you're adjusting the volume of the input.
Yes,
Yeah.
So
Right,
we're using
okay,
that
that's interesting.
as and also with vocals as well. So we've set the splitter that we're using for the vocal. Whenever we send the vocal to the looper, it's always at a lower volume than when we send it to the desk, because that gives us more opportunities to loop before spill becomes a problem or any of that stuff.
That's a really interesting
so
way of
volume
doing
management.
it, actually. Because the way I do, when I had the 300, and also when I use it for the 600 as well, the one thing I was really missing was an expression pedal. And on the 600, it's smaller, and I was like, I'm gutted they just didn't put that expression pedal on the end, or even two.
Yeah.
One thing I've always done and I've stuck with is the expression pedal is the volume of the loops themselves. So I do it the other way around. So I set my vocals
Your
all the
output
same,
is-
but it's the output of the loops. So therefore, if I go into a venue, then my inputs are all the same. But then maybe if I'm in a really smaller venue, I can drop it down. But the nice advantage of that as well is I can do my own fades for the loops, and also instead of going start stop, I just do that. Then I take it then in your headphones you don't have a click track.
No, basically just the front of house mix. What they're hearing out front is what we hear in our headphones. Because any other way, you're not entirely sure whether you've nailed the mix properly. So if you have more
Because you're hearing a high
more vocal
clicks
in your
head.
headphones so you can hear yourself clearer, that's great, but the audience might not actually be hearing you enough, and you're not going to know, like, we don't have a sound guy or anything, so we have to be the sound guy and the mixer and the musician and all that, do quite a few different jobs at once. So yeah, it makes it a lot easier to just have, it's basically a master output from the desk, so it's going to the speakers out front, as well as to an in-ear transmitter. So we're literally...
So are
doing
you
what-
using, if you don't mind me asking, how are you splitting your vocal and your instruments, using your mains, your subs on both 300s, going out to a mixer, and then the mixer's going out to the main PA, is that correct?
We're actually not using the subs at all. We've literally just got the main out from each looper, goes to its own track. So we've got track 1 is Sophie's instruments rig, and track 2 is my instruments, and then track 3 is Soph's desk vocal. So the vocal she uses whenever she needs to either sing without recording it or get an extra little volume bump for a chorus or whatever. And then my desk mic. So it's four inputs to the desk total, but 2 of those inputs are the sum total of all of the hand sonic signal and all of the keyboards and all of the looper.
So the mix hits the desk before you, like, you're pretty much,
we're mixing before we get to the mix.
You're mixing
live.
before. I didn't want to say that.
Mixing as
I didn't
we
want to say that
record.
without it sounding. I didn't mean that to sound insulting.
No, not at all.
So you're mixing. You're getting your levels correct, so you know full well that when it hits the mixer, that's correct. That's right.
Yeah.
And then you're just basically adjusting. Do we need to put like Matt's vocal up slightly or Sophie's vocal up slightly over the loops? Is that right?
Pretty much, yeah. And we have the units set to the same volume, so we know where the master volume on the HPD needs to be for us to get unity. We know where the volume on the looper stays at and everything. And so by the time it gets to the desk, we should be able to have those channels more or less set to the same 12 o'clock or quarter past or whatever.
It's been a lot of mixing for each sample. Obviously, when we bank up and down, each patch needs to be a certain level and things like that.
And if it's not perfect, fuck them.
Love it. So, what is the future for The Distance? Is it more YouTube? Is it more gigs? Is it both? Is it something else? What are we going to do?
All of the above, I
It's
believe.
both. Yeah, it's all of the above. We're getting into videography and photography as a separate kind of side hustle, which we're really enjoying. As we mentioned, of recording our own videos and things like that. And carrying on with the YouTube videos, because even though it exhausts us, it's something that we really enjoy. And we really love the community on there. We finally got past 5,000 subscribers.
Well, after this interview, you'll be past 10,000. It'll be great.
Thank you,
Without a
John.
single unboxing video. So.
Can you imagine? Obviously, we'll to perform is our bread and butter, isn't it? It's the thing that keeps the mortgage paid and everything like that. But yeah, at the minute, learning something new with the videography and photography, and just carrying on with what we're currently doing.
Yeah, and we've invested so much time into that.
We've been
side of
cheating on
things.
guitars and music with Sony cameras and lenses for the last year.
But we've finally gotten around to finishing up a whole new batch of YouTube videos, which will be bleeding out over the next
3 months.
3 months or so,
Nice.
1 a week. But you may have noticed, if you've been following us for a while, that we've been focusing very much on the acoustic side of things.
Yes.
Because in terms of our day job, if you like, as musicians, that's the stuff that is, should I say, more satisfying, more enjoyable, easier, perhaps?
Easier, less equipment, less
thought-
back breaking.
Yeah.
I suppose there's less planning as well, because obviously
Yeah.
you've got to plan.
And also,
if you
it's
go,
our-
I've got this idea for a song, you can't just have it ready by that afternoon. You've got to,
Yeah,
you've
exactly.
It's
got
how
to
we
practice
met.
it.
It's how we met. So 13 years ago, we both started harmonizing and doing Everly Brothers covers and Bee
Nice.
Gees and Beach Boys and things like that. It's our first love, isn't it, to harmonize together? And it's something that we've really focused in on and something that we're quite proud of. So acoustic stuff is, something that we're really, is quite near and
And
dear.
also a good chance that somebody will want acoustic music on a Monday afternoon, as well as a Saturday night or whatever.
Yeah.
So the looper stuff is limited to weekends, really, when people want a bit of a party atmosphere. But it's nice to be able to go out and work. We did a christening
Yesterday. Was it yesterday?
4 o'clock or something. We were done by 5:30, 6 o'clock, and it was just really nice, just background music where there's no kind of pressure on us to be the main event and all that stuff. There's something really nice about being ignored.
Yeah.
With your setup, you can't really take it down to an open mic night, can you?
It takes an hour to set up. It takes an hour to pack down.
Oh.
And it's 3 trolleys worth of equipment.
Yeah, it's
and
insane.
if we come into contact with stairs, fuck we're going to do? It's, it's insane. It's a
Yes.
whole operation. People don't realise, but
When people are really into it, it's the best feeling in the world. When they're not, we're like, oh, let's stop this immediately.
when they see us rock up with 3 trolleys, they're like, oh, we didn't realise. Have you not seen the website, please? We've even thought about having everything looper-wise on a stage thing that we can just wheel in that's already pre-wired. We've even thought about that, and I was
Just
like,
super
we'll
glue
just
everything
just
down.
get a bigger van.
Yeah.
It's fine. We'll just wheel it in. It's perfect. We've thought about everything. We had
Yeah.
in our Move Your Feet video and Lovely Day video and Loveful, those videos. We had this massive Swan Flight rack, which kind of it like pivoted up. It had the
was
hand
supposed to
sonics built
house,
in.
yeah.
It had the keyboards that roll out. It had everything.
Right.
Spent $2,000 on these units, and then the first that we went out with them 5 times, and the second time we went out, we came into contact with 4 stairs. Couldn't get up it, so we're like, what do we do now? So we need to have everything in separate boxes, and I was like, this is perfect. You literally just roll it in, plug it into the looper. It's absolutely amazing. We were set up before the DJ. I was like, result! Absolutely perfect. And then, when you come into contact with stairs, what do you do? So we've gone back
You're
to
just
the
going to
drawing
have to
board.
play bigger venues. You're just going to have to do
Uh.
Glastonbury and V Festival and just do it that and just ignore the places with stairs and then have a team of like 21-year-old rigging guys who just like with massive muscles just launch it up there for you.
We brought it on ourselves, really. We've got no one to blame but ourselves. The more
Hugely
equipment
excessive.
we've added, the more trolleys we've added, the bigger van we needed, everything. It's
It's all been a knock-on.
it's
So
You've
yeah,
gone
the future
down
holds
the
more of
looping
that.
wormhole and you can't come
Yeah.
back.
the future
This
holds
is why
more
you
of
love
that.
acoustic
but-
stuff, isn't it? Because
Exactly,
some
yeah,
of
it's
it.
absolute
Yeah.
bliss. And doing videography as well, which we've
It's even
filmed,
better.
we filmed a few events recently. We're like, is this it? One bag full of cameras and
Just
a couple
a
of
camera that
tripods?
you just go like this with. It's not a full, like, really heavy, hollow-bodied guitar that's weighing you down. Do you know what I mean? It's-
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So yeah,
We're after the easy life these days, if you can tell.
yeah. Keep an eye on the YouTube and the Spotify. That's where the stuff we're really proud of
Yeah.
goes.
Brilliant. So, on that basis, then, obviously, we've got the YouTube channel. That's cool. So, where can people find your music?
They can find us on our website. It would probably be the best place to go to our Spotify account, our YouTube account, and our
got links to
social
everything, hasn't it?
social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
We've got the
everything like
links,
that.
but you're going to say your website out loud for us.
So, what is the name of the website?
It's thedistancelive.com.
Sorry, what was that?
Thedistancelive.com.
I see. And why is it called The Distance Live and not The Distance?
Because thedistance.com was taken by someone and they won't let me buy it from them. They won't let me buy it.
You can be sure of it.
I've tried.
I really like it, to be fair, because I think actually what you should have is you've got the distance live, then you should have the distance recorded, then the
Yeah.
distance acoustic, then the distance. You should have all these different versions. It takes you all
That's
to the
a
same
good idea.
website: Distance Studio, the Distance Podcast, the
The
Distance.
sheer weight of...
I've got one final question for you, which is obviously we've been talking about the distance and obviously all the stuff you do, and you do covers and you do acoustic stuff and you do loop stuff. Do you do any of your own stuff?
We do a bit, yeah. We tend to do it under a different name than The Distance.
It's been a while.
It's O'Neill and Jones, which is ungoogleable, so I'll spell it for you. It's O''N''EILL
That's his fault.
and Jones.
His last name is O'Neill, so we blame him for the awkward spelling. Yeah, we've released a couple of songs, mainly over the pandemic, really,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
and-
And we had a lot of downtime.
Yeah, and probably don't tell anyone this, but it's the stuff that we're most proud of.
You never know, we might release another one this year. Fingers crossed. We actually had a lot of fun filming so the last song that we released is called Broken Shoes, which was April 2020. That was a while ago. And we filmed our own video for it. So we did this whole plan of how to release a song in 21 days and almost killed ourselves.
Yeah.
We created a lyric video, we created an official video, we created a behind the scenes. We really went to town on like promoting it and everything like that. And it was
And
yeah,
it kind
was-
of paid off, actually.
Yeah.
It was a really nice response, but we thought, oh, I want to release a song a week or an album every couple of months. This is a full-time job.
Yeah, promoting it is really difficult. We had a lot of
yeah.
fun shooting the video.
Yeah.
Yeah, even though it was
The
freezing.
promotion side of it is still the hardest part, and a lot of people
Yeah.
say that, and this is why you've still got, obviously you've got independent artists, you've still got the labels, and they like push millions of pounds into obviously promotion and using promotional companies and things like that, because it's a lot of hard work and you've got to do it relentlessly as well. But
Yeah.
hopefully we'll get some of that original stuff listened to as well, and obviously we'll get the Distance YouTube channel. And what was that website again?
Thedistancelive.com.
Thedistancelive.com. Matt, so this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for taking the time today.
Thank you.
We will see you soon, hopefully a video a week on your YouTube channel.
Everybody go and check out Brian Fitzy. He's an incredible loop artist and nobody ever mentions him. It's ridiculous. He's astounding.
I know Brian Fitz is amazing, and we
No,
will.
he's so good.
I'll try and get him. I'll try and get him.
Tell him we said hi.
Yeah.
That was this guy. Thank you so much, John. It's been an absolute pleasure. Keep looping.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, a couple of things before I go. Don't forget to pick up your How Do You Loop t-shirt or hoodie. I'll put that discount code on the screen now. And it's gone. The link for picking up the t-shirt is in the description box below. As always, if you have found the content of this video useful, then please give it a thumbs up. It helps me, but it helps push this video out to other people who might want to watch it. Subscribe to the channel, click the bell, and then you'll know when the next video goes live. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you on the next one.